Yeah, what do I do with my hands? I guess we have to make it entertaining for the replay at this point. But
Well, I mean, we could have another beer.
that's true. That's true.
Cheers.
There we go. Now we got two eyeballs. So, like old times, if it's Thursday and it's way later than it normally would be, it's time for the Car Guide 6 Fan Show.
Absolutely. We got Andy has jumped into the chat there. Welcome to the once in a lifetime Car Guy 6 Fan Show live.
Yeah.
From Kansas City.
Yep. Just outside of Kansas City here at the worldwide headquarters of Straight Six Fan. Rusty Wrenches. Thanks for dropping in, Nick. Yeah, good seeing you. Yeah, sorry we didn't get out and about to go see in person. The way it just worked out. Hopefully everybody can hear us well, by the way. So we're using a little different device than normal. So let us know in the comments if you hear us okay. I'm hoping.
Yeah, if the dancing ladies over there are too loud, we can turn the music down.
Absolutely. So we'll keep it brief tonight because, well, Eric, here's the deal. We crossed the last major hurdle. Jason had to meet my parents today, so we crossed that off the list.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's what happens to all great couples. At some point in time, you got to meet the parents. So.
Yeah. So I met his dad fall of 2022.
22,
so,
yep.
I mean, pretty much we've done all the right moves at this point.
I mean, all that's left is to set a date, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. As Eric says, anyway.
So maybe a 3-day event. Thursday in Kansas City, Friday in Indianapolis, Saturday in Connecticut, and then Sunday in Portland, Maine. So this is day one of the epic road trip that is, we're calling it #Kansas to Canada.
Yep. And we've already got roughly about 180 miles down today. We started at mile 0 in Augusta, Kansas.
Yeah.
Where I picked up the Suburban. And so far, a couple of small things that we've got to deal with. One, the cruise control does not work. Exactly.
Sure.
So the cruise control doesn't work in this thing.
No.
So at 2,000 miles, there's at least 1,700 left to go.
Yep.
It's going to be a long drive without cruise control. We got to figure out what's going on with it.
Which I've had many vehicles in my day that I haven't ever had cruise control, so it doesn't bother me that much. Although I did notice, Jason was nice enough to let me drive for a bit, and it's a new vehicle that you don't know well enough. So how to when you don't have cruise control, you can subconsciously anticipate the upcoming hill and know how you have to lean into the gas a little bit. And I noticed I was definitely the speedometer's doing this number, not knowing how the transmission wants to kick in overdrive or drop down, do this, that, and the other. So.
Yep.
I'm sure I was twerking off the people next to me in a black limited Ford
Edge.
Yeah. I think he was actually twerking me off.
But. I will talk a little bit about that in the video. So I'm making a video of the entire trip. It's going to be a longer video likely. And we're not just going to show what it takes to drive across, halfway across the country with this thing. But I think I will break that down into this video a little bit, but also do a separate video talking about what's involved in importing a vehicle from the U.S. into Canada. There's a few steps that you got to follow, some costs involved, and procedure. You're dealing with two international entities that don't necessarily speak to each other. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to teach some people a few things about how that works.
But grand scheme of things, if you had to pick two countries to try to speak to each other the best, I suspect Mexico to US to Mexico is probably, it's a whole nother ball game, right?
Yeah. So
not that I'm asking you for experience, but this is gonna be as easy as it gets.
Mexican spec. He's one of our followers, on Instagram. He could answer that question about what it takes to get vehicles from Mexico into the US. That's his business. But in Canada, it's a little bit different story. Canada is the hurdle. It's not the U.S. at all. So,
well, Andy, before I let Jason answer, I want to take this for a second and just say, I'm really excited about this trip for the fact that I've tried to do collaborations in the past. And they kind of fell apart because what ended up happening is the person who shot the majority of the footage was me, and so the other person basically when we pumped out our videos side by side, they were really, really close. So I'm really
Similar.
excited to see what happens when we swap our footage, just to see like creator to creator, like how different and how do you tell the same story but from two totally different perspectives.
Yeah, and we'll soon have a third entity as well.
Totally.
So tomorrow we're heading to St. Louis, about a 3.5-hour drive. We'll pick up John, who is my co-host for the Get Out and Drive podcast. So he'll be a third camera. We'll get a lot of footage from him for both sides, third-party perspective, and we'll have a lot of fun. So part of doing this live stream tonight is just that. We'll do a live stream tonight here, obviously on Grant's channel. Tomorrow night from Indy, we'll do a quick live stream on my channel. And then on Saturday night, we'll do a live stream from the Get Out and Drive podcast YouTube channel. So if you're not following Get Out and Drive on YouTube, make sure you head on over there and do that, because that's where we'll be doing live on Saturday night.
Yeah, that's our objective here. As the title mentions, it's day one recap of the Kansas to Canada trip. And we will reconnect with everybody. That it's been a while since the last Car Guy and Six Fan show.
Been a while.
But so let's just get right into it, and let's recap what was day one. And I guess, Jason, you can go all the way as far back to 3 a.m. Eastern time, but take the story back as far as you want. But if you want to go all the way to Augusta and just recap, like from purchase forward, whatever, take it from here.
It's there's not a lot to it. Obviously, to fly from the East Coast to Midwest, you got to start early in the morning. So up at 3:30, on the road by 4, hit the airport. By the time we got checked in and everything like that, they were boarding. So I jumped on the plane and we flew to Washington, D.C. Quite a layover there, 4 hours. I got a chance to kind of grab a quick nap and a bite to eat. Off to Wichita. And from there, Grant and his parents picked me up at the airport. They drove us to Augusta,
Yep.
where the Suburban was, where the seller was working. We got all that paperwork done, exchange of money. We hopped in this thing and pretty much literally just hit the road. And my first impressions so far are we are 100% going to make this trip with no issues. Again, cruise control being likely the biggest issue, but not necessary to complete the task. So,
like, honestly, if that's the we did have one other thing that we were like, hey, if this is rock bottom for the trip, then we'll take it.
We can't talk about that until
So you've got to watch all three. We'll unveil it on the third live stream.
Yes,
so Saturday night.
We're
closer to this little anecdote.
So if that is the worst that can happen and not die, we did it.
Doing good.
We're doing great.
So we'll say for now, if not having cruise control is the worst thing, then still, like you'll take.
And the air conditioning.
Well, sure, yeah.
Like I'm not expecting 90-degree temperatures on this trip. It's going to be rainy, likely, in like tomorrow's supposed to be nice.
Yeah, we should have beautiful weather.
But Saturday we may run into some rain. Anyways, we did have a question from Eric, ask if we're going to go visit Jed Scott. So we would have loved to, but time is not on our side. We had lots of things that we wanted to try and get done. We had to, get the vehicle back to Grant's, kind of check things over, check some fluids, go over some things, make sure that everything was road trip worthy.
Yeah. Well, and we could have probably fit Jed in if we really wanted, but you don't want to bank on the way Jason has planned out this trip. Obviously, me living in the state and only being roughly 3 hours from where we picked up, it's less than, but roughly 3 hours from where we picked up the Suburban to my house, is that it gave us an easy shakedown run to know, if there was some issue, safety blankets there, all my connections within the state, Jed would have been 50 miles shorter. We could have taken a different route to get to Jed, say, and borrow some tools, do those things. But we want to just lay it out to let's make it safe and easy.
Yep.
And so that's what we did. But Jason, before we get into, we also had a fun episode at O'Reilly's tonight.
Oh, we did.
Before we get to that, I asked you this question on the drive up, so I'm curious, to tell the viewers, even taking yourself back to pre-COVID days, even knowing me, we had talked about, hey, sometime we need to meet up in person. We had talked about that for a great deal. But did you ever think, hey, yes, someday I want to go to Kansas. I'm going to go to Kansas. So walk us through that.
So, well, we also had a different conversation later on this evening with your wife about, Kansas City and what makes Kansas City what it is, and one of those things is sports and sports architecture, and like any form of sports, major league of anything, Kansas has a sport for that. Basketball, baseball.
Well, not NBA, but yeah.
Well,
at one point in time, we actually
you've got college.
Yeah.
Right. But you've got NASCAR, literally a couple
12 miles,
couple miles down the road.
Yeah.
So there's a lot here. And like, I'm not a sports fan. I am a NASCAR fan. And had I known that that Kansas Speedway was literally as close as it is, I might have been here sooner. But I have no reason to come to Kansas unless you're driving through it.
Yeah. Well,
but
so they say.
So they say. But I got Grant.
Yeah.
So I think having that friendship, just like the friendships that we have with you guys in the chat, if the opportunity is ever there to be able to meet you guys, and that's part of what this trip is about, is if you're along our route and you want to meet up with us, reach out.
I mean, so a reminder, if you didn't catch my last upload here on YouTube, we laid out the itinerary, the rough itinerary, but best chance to meet up with us tomorrow night will be in Indianapolis, Indiana. We
Cletus and Cars.
are hoping to be at Cletus and Cars in some capacity. So if anybody's going to that, and then I've made the Jason's beard's very recognizable in a crowd, but if you can't find that, I will be wearing this hat all trip long. So look for the orange shilling brew company. That will be what I'll be wearing, and hopefully that stands out in a crowd. Something to look for. But we're excited to meet people, and I'll just say, like, that's what's been such a blessing on the YouTube journey. And shoot, next year in March will be 10 years for me on YouTube, which is weird to say out loud. But having this network of car guys and friends nationwide. I mean, Andy, we met you in Spokane. What was it? Just literally barely over a year ago. Having Boost Rodeo there, who I was able to borrow some tools to pop out a dent on the rental van, like all the it's just a truly amazing thing. And so we're looking forward to seeing visiting more people, getting to meet them in person.
Yeah. And again, that's part of we always joke about Grant and I's relationship and how things kind of transpired. But Grant came to visit me in October of 22.
Yeah.
We were able to do the road trip to Atlanta, or from Atlanta with you. It was to Atlanta with John.
It was John, yeah.
Last year, and now this year I'm coming this way, and we're literally going across the country.
Yeah,
2,000 miles with this. It's
when you say halfway across the country, it's living in the middle of the country.
Literally in the middle. Yeah. So it's going to be a fun time. We hope to be able to meet you guys. And if you're wondering what our route is, it's very simple. Right from where we are here in Kansas City, I-70 clear to Columbus, Ohio, basically is what we're doing. From Columbus, we're going to head north to Akron and hit Summit Racing, likely by noontime on Saturday. So if you guys are in the Akron area or anywhere in Ohio that you want to drive and spend half an hour, 45 minutes or something like that with us, have some lunch or something, we will have stickers. We've got lots of stickers to give away. We are going to be doing some t-shirt giveaways as well. And, we just want to make sure we have an opportunity to meet some of you guys. We realize that we're not big YouTubers like Cletus McFarland or whatever. But we do understand that there's some of you guys out there that probably would like to meet us, and we want to meet you guys too. So there's a few that have reached out that are going to meet us at Summit on Saturday afternoon. And from there, we're going to hit I-80 clear to Pennsylvania.
And I would say the best way to make sure you can line up schedules, do that things, obviously pay attention now, right? Like line up your Saturday now or your Friday night, and then Sunday we will be, probably we'll call it 1 o'clock to be safe in Portland, Maine, probably at a microbrewery somewhere, throwing down some brewskis. So
not too many though, because I got to drive 3 more hours home.
So, But the best way I would say to just make sure we can all make this happen is follow us on Instagram. We'll be doing like stories. If you haven't caught Jason or I story today, go check those out. We'll give updates, and that'll help us like fine tune, because it's easy to map it out now and make a plan now. We don't know exactly what's going on, and yes. So, Will, a great question. And it was funny because I was driving home from work yesterday. Yeah. And I was hearing the radio. I was like, holy cow, I was living under a rock. And I didn't even realize ideally it would be nice to like go to qualifying tonight, but that's usually Friday nights.
Yeah. So, again, everything worked out really well time-wise to buy this Suburban, drive it home without anybody missing too much work. We are busy at work right now. It's hard to get away. But I'm making it happen. So if we'd have had more time, I'd have made more time for things like catching something at Kansas Speedway, spending more time at the Cletus and Cars event, because that's where a lot of big YouTubers are, and that's where you may get a lot of exposure. Not to mention catching the event.
And I think just what you said there is just a reminder for everybody in the chat who's an aspiring YouTuber like we are, and that's how our friendship started, was don't be afraid to network in any capacity, because there are a lot of people. I mean, Jason and I were talking about on the drive up I-35 today, like Flying Sparks Garage is a great example of people, complete strangers you've never met before, you interacted with a little bit over social media, but Emily is just a sweetheart and like open arms, like wants to, so don't be afraid to do something like we're doing. There's would be a lot of big time YouTubers at Cletus and Cars that we've done it enough now that we would not feel like bashful about approaching someone. I mean, I remember at Rocky Mountain Race Week in 2020, catching Cletus for this much and asking if he would just do my closeout at the time, which was like, until next time, peace out.
Yeah.
And he just, he's like, wait, what is it again? Let me know. And then he did it. Yeah. Like just simple things like that. Don't be afraid to take a chance to do something like we're doing.
Yeah. And that's the thing. The worst thing that somebody can say is no.
And then you're in the same spot you were before.
Exactly. PRI back in December last year, I met Tony Stewart and I asked him if he would do our catch line with Get Out and Drive podcast. And he said no, because as big of an influencer as he is in many capacities, it took him a hard road to get to where he is. Yeah. He does not give those endorsements for free. But if you don't ask, you don't know. Yeah. So anyway, we didn't want to be on here forever either. Arch Cricket.
Oh yeah, so this is a former coworker of mine, and he was all about Car Grand 6-fan show. So hey, Chris, nice seeing you. It's been a while. We need to catch up sometime. So
is it Arc?
Arc,
or is it Arch?
Architect.
See, I would call it Arch. Yeah. That's anyway.
Well, so okay, again, so we don't want to be on for forever tonight, because Jason does still have jet lag to deal with, being on Atlantic time, getting up at 3 a.m. Atlantic, well, I guess Eastern time.
Well, and it's 20 after 10 here in Kansas, but that's 20 after 12 my time. So, and knowing I've been up since 3:30.
Yeah.
It's
so tonight will be the shortest rendition, but again, remember tomorrow night, make sure, again, follow us on Instagram. We will publish our plan as we know it, as it's closer, and we'll go live on Old Car Guy tomorrow night. Do a similar format, and we'll have John with us, of course. Will probably be 3 hotel sheets to the wind. And so, but before we close out tonight, we do want to recount, of course, the incident at O'Reilly's here in my hometown of O'Reilly. So when we rolled in, of course, Jason wants to load up on things like motor oil. Wiper blades weren't the best. We were testing them out. Yeah. Just this, that, and the other. Just those precautionary things. How do you prep for another 1,700 miles? So, Jason, you went in on a mission. You knew what you were looking for, and so I kind of wanted. What I wanted to do is, I know when I'm in that situation, like your mind's kind of like going a million places.
Yeah.
So trying to have like a conversation, me being close to you, trying to have a conversation is more distracting than anything. So I just kind of let you go do your thing. And so the 3 like high school kids working behind the counter, like they were talking about big time YouTubers. I was picking up all of a sudden like, oh, they're talking about like some of these random YouTube videos I know I've seen, like a guy who 4BT swapped a Ranger and then turned it into a dually. It's like, no, I know I've seen that one. I don't remember. But
Yeah.
and they even went as far as they made a mention of 802 Garage,
yeah.
who we interviewed on, I think it was season 2 of the Car Gang 6-Man show. So I was just like, okay, well, I got to seize this moment. If they were talking about anything else, I wasn't going to.
Guess who we are? We were wearing our shirts too when we walked in there.
So I'll let you take it from there, Jason.
So it all started. We pulled in. Grant was driving. We pulled in, and he's backing into a parking spot, which is a totally another story. You go check out my story for that on Instagram. But I see 3 faces come up almost to the window of the O'Reillys from the inside, and they're like, "What is that? That's a Suburban. That's like we had caught their attention just by driving in, and then when we walk in, they're talking about YouTubers, Weston Champlin, 802 Garage, 4BT swap, whatever it is,
12 valve swap.
So Grant takes that opportunity to tell them that we're YouTubers and that Jason just bought this square body in Wichita and he's driving it back to Canada 2,000 miles, and they're like,
"Wait, what?"
What? So we did our thing. I picked up it was $125 worth of supplies, threw it in the truck, and Grant didn't have any stickers on him. I left them some of mine, so we said, well, let's go back to the house and we'll grab Grant's Grand Prix and we'll take them back some stickers. So when we pull in the second time with the Grand Prix, they see us appropriately. They see us getting out of the car, and we can see them inside going
like they're stoked again.
They're stoked again because we're coming back, and they're in there watching my channel.
Yeah. Because it was a fairly downtime for them.
It was a downtime. There wasn't much going on.
And so far, that's been the story of the trip. It's just little things like that it's like you couldn't have like scripted this like a Disney movie.
And I get it. They're young fellas, and which is great. We love to be able to influence. That's why we keep our channels clean. We want to see these kids doing the same. Obviously, they're working at O'Reilly's. They're car guys to some degree.
And that's just such a big thing with the Get Out and Drive podcast is how do you make sure you're influencing the youth appropriately to keep the hobby alive? Yep. And so tonight was like a great example.
For sure. So we showed them a couple of videos blowing up bubbles, the Kia Sportage I blew up way back a couple of years ago. They thought that was absolutely amazing. So, that's not one way to influence young people is to blow things up, but they enjoy watching it. Anyway, just seeing the looks on their faces, I think that was pretty cool. And now, whether they think that we're, big YouTubers or not, I don't care. I just think that the fact that we had the interaction with them, was pretty fun. So.
And the way I look at it too is like this is a high school job. Yeah. Like I don't think either of these people are gonna. Well, you don't know, but I don't know if any 3 of them. I would. If I'm a betting man, which I guess I am, I would not put money on all 3 of them are going to work past like 6 years at O'Reilly's. Right? I would bet. I don't think even one of them will work there for 7 years, right? So we know that at some point they will probably get back together and recount like, hey, remember that one night that Canadian came in, was driving a Suburban from like, oh, that was awesome. Like it was otherwise a nondescript, probably boring night at work for them, and it just felt awesome to make their night.
Well, and speaking of boring, we're not trying to drag this out any longer and be boring, but one of the things that I am hoping for is ultimately that this is the most boring road trip, drive wise. Uneventful from here to home. We're going to try and get as much, footage and stories and fun, making this happen. But we certainly hope that there's no downtime. Grant and John both have a plane to catch Sunday evening or late Sunday afternoon to get back home. So we've kind of got to make this deadline one way or the other. So. I think it's going to happen. I'm feeling pretty confident with this first 180-mile drive. I'm not worried.
And that being said, that's all the reason why we should probably call it a show tonight. Because of all the sorts of the best way to make a trip end on time is to start on time. So we've got to be punctual with our start. And Jason's got to get some sleep.
We got 500 miles to put on tomorrow in total. Plus whatever shenanigans await us at the end of the day tomorrow. So
and who knows what happens in Indianapolis?
You don't know. Could be the same thing that happens in Atlanta, Georgia. Hope not. That was a rough
day. We don't need to be eating Wendy's on a Saturday. So with that, guys, one more time, the reminder, tomorrow night, again, First off, follow us on Instagram. So if you don't know our handles, at Straight Six Fan, and Jason, yours is
at Old Car Guy.
So I'm guessing because there's only 9 in the chat right now, all 9 of you follow us, which is weird because I usually only have 6 fans. But with that, be looking for all of the updates tomorrow. We'll do this again on Old Car Guy's YouTube channel tomorrow night, and we're looking forward to interacting with you guys there. So I guess that does it for this installment.
Yeah. So for all Grant's 6 fans, I guess we could end the stream.
So, thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate you.
See you tomorrow. Oh, the double click.